going on, guys? Just letting our Telegram group know. 30-minute USMLE Q&A. That's all this is going to be. There we go. Live Q&A. Yeah, I mean, as I already mentioned in the last video, I'm doing these afternoon my time here in Japan, which is the night in the US. And if I do these at night my time instead, there'll be way more of you guys here. Right? If you have questions, write them in the chat box, because when that chat box fills up, you're not going to get your questions seen. Let's see. I'll let our Telegram group know. Should I let Instagram know? I'm probably not going to let Instagram know. Fuck that. Mohammed, what's going on? Judson, good to see you. I remember you, Judson. Ramy. Let me make my screen on my side. There we go. Okay. Ask USMLE questions. Ask USMLE questions in the chat box right there. It's going to be half an hour only. Amir, Youssef, what's going on? Anna Payne, good to see you again. Mr. Smart, Jennifer, what's going on? Freddie, Nagasu, what's going on? Tajera, Zenix, what do you recommend for CBSE prep now? As I talked about yesterday in the live stream, CBSE, you're going to prep pretty much exactly like you're prepping for step one. Okay, so you're going to get through Qbank, UWorld or MBOS, untimed tutor random, ideally blocks of 10, 4 to 8 blocks. That's 48 questions a day. My PDFs, YouTube MCQs, and you're going to go through NBMEs 20 through 31. There's caveats in there, okay? And the most important caveat is those of you who are studying for CBSE who are getting really low scores. And when I mean low, I mean under 55% correct on an NBME. I don't want you burning through the NBMEs. Okay, I've talked about going nuclear, that if your school is going to kick you out, like literally if it's a situation where your school says you have to sit in 3 weeks, no, you can't move the exam, or we're going to kick you out type of thing, we can burn through NBMEs. But what I don't want is for you to be getting like 49% on like your last CBSE attempt, or like a 49% NBME 20, and then you're just going to burn through 20 through 31. I don't want that. I want you to do Qbank, okay, all of UWorld or all of AMBOSS. You can do either, and that's going to get you up to 60 plus. You need 65% plus to pass step one. I understand for CBSE, like your school might say 63 or 66. It differs based on the school. Find myself, Mike, I'm from the East Coast. That's cool. It's time to sleep, sup, Dr. Octopus. What's wrong on NBME offline for step one? No percentages to see. Well, when you do offline NBME, the whole point of doing offline NBMEs is that they're not online, so you're not going to get a percentage pumped out. I mean, is it hard to just do an exam and then calculate your percentage based on your number of wrongs? But 65% plus. Storyteller, hi Mike, New York City. Mary Clouds, what's the best way to review NBME? Taking so much time. Yeah, I mean, I give usually 2 days per NBME. Okay, so you do an NBME, let's say NBME 20, and you do all 4 blocks in a row. I don't want you taking a break mid-exam. I don't want you taking an extended break. So you're gonna do like, all 4 blocks as though it's the real exam, and then you can, let's say, review 2 blocks that same afternoon. That's a full day, and then maybe the next day you've got 2 more blocks to review. Okay, so I give you 2 days per NBME. And I've made clips talking about how in the past you could make people who are really struggling, I could have them make Anki screenshots of incorrects, etc. It's not mandatory. I tend not to even really push for that now. I just want you to make sure you understand each question. And it's sort of an honor system in terms of not obsessing over small minutiae. Like, I don't give a fuck if you miss weird neuroanatomy or weird enzymes or weird pharmacokinetics. Like, you got to know high yield endocrine. Like, if you get questions wrong in the NBMEs that are like, hormones, aldosterone, ADH, PTH, vitamin D, basic diagnoses, cystic fibrosis, Duchenne, okay, Marfan syndrome. Like, you got to know those questions. Like, those are the questions that are going to determine whether you pass or not. Someone donated. Let's see. Anna Pang, thanks. If you asked a question, Anna Pang, I would see it. Purna, good to see you. Crankson, what's going on? Sunny, hello. Dejera, what can I do to prepare for my peds rotation? For pediatrics, you're going to do obviously UWorld or AMBOSS questions for pediatrics. And at the same time, you're going to do my peds PDF. You're going to do my peds playlist on the YouTube here. And then you're going to do all 8 clinical mastery series, the NBME 50 questions, subject specific forms for pediatrics. You're going to do those twice prior to your shelf. Okay. So if you have a very busy peds rotation, maybe you can only get 1 CMS form done per day. So if you're going to do all 8 twice, that's 16 days leading up to your shelf exam that you need to dedicate to the CMS forms. Okay. And don't do the CMS forms prior to finishing UWorld or AMBOSS questions in that subject. Lovely Libra, good to see you again. Allison, hey. Allison, Natalia, Ahmed. 196 is passing marks for USMLE. Internal score, that makes 70% on USMLE yesterday. You said 65%. It is 65%. 70% is absurdly high. If you're getting 70% on an NBME, that's like an amazing score. You have to think of it this way. There's those of you who are prepping for CBSE comp for your school, right? And your school is going to require like a 63, 65, et cetera. If you were getting a 70, you'd be like, hell yeah, like 70, like that's amazing. Like 70 is way beyond pass. Like, so I don't know where you're getting the 70% for pass mark. The scales differ for each exam. Also bear that in mind. Okay, they differ for each exam, but 65 is basically your pass mark. Rami, quick question. I'm getting around 245 to 248 on NBMEs for CK. How can I crack the 250, 260 line? You have to make sure you do all this clinical mastery series forms. I don't know how far out from your exam you are, but you got to do all 50-ish NBME subject specific forms. So there are 50 question NBME subject specific forms, and then there's about 50 of them. And that's going to take you 3.5-ish weeks. And you're going to do all those twice. And you're going to do NBME 6 through 8, free 120, and then 9 through 14. You got to do all that NBME content. And you're going to do my PDFs. And you're going to do my YouTube MCQs. But if you're short on time, just make sure you get 6 through 14 done in free 120 and all the clinical mastery series forms done. If you're going in your CK and you haven't done that content, you're shortchanging yourself. Medical Broad, what's going on? FAIQ, hey, passed step 1 only because of you. Chinonso, thank you so much for free materials. It's time to sleep. What is the main resource for step 2 before dedicated? I just said the 4 things you're going to do: PDFs, my PDFs, free PDFs, YouTube MCQs, UWorld or AMBOSS, and the NBMEs and the CMS forms. Manel Ben, missed you. Max Musterman. In a 6-year course of medicine, when would you say to sit step 1 is best? I mean, after you finish 2 years of medicine. Okay, like if it depends on the 6-year course. Some courses start with medicine concepts early in the first year, etc. There's other courses where they do literally 2 years of like a makeshift undergrad and then just 4 years of regular medicine. Okay, so after you've done 2 proper years of medical school, that's when you're going to sit step 1. Mr. Amarcharosa, 96, only got time to finish either UWorld or CMS forms for CK. Which one would you rather? I don't like that statement because you need to do all of it. And you're shortchanging yourself if you don't do all of it. Okay, now I understand that maybe in your situation, the information you're not discussing here is that you want to apply to the match this year and you don't have enough time. That's what it is. So you're trying to get your match application in right now. You got to do the CMS forms. But I would not be happy. I would be annoyed. I'd be like, why are you in a situation? Why have you put yourself in a position where you haven't finished all Qbank and you're not able to do all CMS forms twice? Because let's say you get a 246 on CK. you could have had like a 256 or a 260. So like, why are we in this position right now? Nagasi, you're in Mississippi. That's cool. I feel like Mississippi would be fucking awesome. There's got to be some like good food in Mississippi. There's got to be some good stuff down there, like the deep south. I was in Alabama last year. I went to Alabama. I've got a friend who lives there. Had really good barbecue, beer. It's fucking amazing. Fucking amazing. The 1-2 punch says, should I use your high yield PDFs before each block during my second year in med? Yeah, I mean, you should be doing my PDFs early in your prep. Don't save them for late. This notion some people perpetuate that they artificially inflate your scores, garbage. Okay. If you're doing the right resources, your scores are supposed to go up. That's how it works. So if you save the PDFs for, let's say, late in your prep, you're not going to have time to finish them. And then you get this continual story of like, oh, like I only went through like 3 of his PDFs or something and they were good. I didn't have time. And like, I should have gone through them. It's like, well, no shit. So the idea is to do the PDFs alongside Qbanks. You finish the PDFs, and then you got the last month that's pretty much dedicated to the NBME exams. Amir Ahmed, I just took NBME 13 and it destroyed me. Got 240. I used to get a 245 in past NBMEs. Is it really bro? I mean, it's a toss up. You'll do NBMEs like in a row and get varying scores, and it's complete luck, essentially, a toss up as to how you're like. Let's say you go down 4 points per NBME over the course of a week, and you're freaking out. You're like, oh my god, my scores are going down. If you just coincidentally sat those same exact NBMEs in reverse order, your scores would have gone up 4 points each form, and you would have been like, oh my god, like I'm improving. So I'm not fussed when you talk about a 240 versus a 245. I mean, that's just a toss up. It's different if you were down at a 220, let's say, versus a 245. Crankson, is it possible to use BUN and creatinine ratio to determine the difference between upper and lower GI bleeding? I've never heard of that in my entire life. I mean, like, that's bizarre. When that sounds like a very like Qbank type of like 5-step lateral thinking nonsense. Like, are we getting at like pre-renal azotemia because you're losing GI blood? And I mean, what are we doing here? Waleed, hi Dr. Mac. 7 months to take step 1. Should I use 2 Qbanks? You could. Yeah, because you have a lot of time. Yeah, you could. Or actually, this is what you should do, is you could do 1 Qbank, take NBMEs 20 and 21, and if you're scoring over 63%, let's say, which are still fails, okay, but I allow mild fails on the early NBMEs, you could just go on to 22, 23 offline. And if you're getting 65 plus on 22 onward, you could just sit the USMLE. Like, I want to see a 68% plus for a buffer. I don't want you to pass by a single question. We want a buffer. But if you do a Qbank and you sit some NBMEs and you're scoring pass level, why wouldn't we just have you sit? Okay, that's my thought. Unless you're like early in second year, and that's why you're not going to sit. But if you're adamant about like sitting it at the end of second year, I'm assuming right now, yeah, you're 7 months out because you're going to sit it next summer at the end of second year. If that's your plan, you could do 2 Qbanks. Find myself past midnight in the USA. Good. Still caught you. Hussam says, while solving UWorld, I feel like I remember the general idea, but I forgot specific details, what to do. Was there a question there? Like, it's not my job to dig out what your question is. Like, ask your question. Tito, hello. What content could inflate your NBME scores or give you a bias prior to step 1? Nothing. I mean, even if you were to go through all the offline NBMEs, like hypothetically 1 through 19, where there's going to be repeats on 20 through 31, that still wouldn't even be an artificial score inflation, because that's how the real USMLE is going to be. You understand? If you did, let's say, NBMEs 1 to 31, and you memorized all those questions, like in the first years of med school, you would see repeats on your real USMLE. And, like, that's not an artificial score inflation. Like, questions repeat. Dima, You just finished UWorld and CMS forms for CK, approximately 55 to 70% correct. Depends on the subject. Failed 2 NBMEs. What's my next step? I'd want to know how far out you are from your exam. If you failed 2 NBMEs, you're going to go back to Qbank. That's what you got to do. So we'd take a month, not like 2 weeks. We'd take a month and you'd be doing UWorld and corrects, or we could even just switch you over to AMBOSS entirely. It's sort of a toss up. It doesn't matter. Sometimes I like to just start students fresh. We're like, nah, fuck your UWorld and corrects. We're just going to do AMBOSS, like a new Qbank right now. Or sometimes if a student's like freaking out about money, then it's like, okay, it's fine. Just do your UWorld and corrects. But you got to go back to, if you're failing NBMEs, you got to go back to Qbank for an entire month. Mohammed Fathi, what do you recommend for matching? In IM in the next year, will it be more competitive? No, IM's not competitive. I mean, if you're realistic, if you're pragmatic, you're not trying to get like, hyper top tier places. Like, it doesn't, you can just pass USMLE. Just pass USMLE. That's all you need for family medicine, internal medicine, like you can just pass. Fetty, what do you think the reason is for the step 2 score inflation? The new mean is 250 right now. Yeah, it's pretty wild, actually. When I sat CK a decade ago, the average is 234. So yeah, I mean, it is probably because there's just so much more in Qbank. Like the Qbanks are expanded. When I did UWorld for CK a decade ago, there were only about 2,000 questions in it. And the NBMEs, there were only 3 that were available. I did 4, 6, and 7. 5 didn't exist. And the CMS forms were sort of like arcane. Like they were sort of like they existed, but like they weren't like a main way of prep. Now for CK, you got people doing like these large Qbanks, 4,000 plus questions. You got people doing the CMS forms. You got people doing 6 through 14. So you're going to push scores higher that way. I think that's what it is. It's just people are prepping better. But yeah, when I sat, it was a 234 as the average. Igor, thanks for answering my question yesterday. What is better to do, CMS or UWorld and corrects? Goal is to boost CK in 3 weeks. You're going to do CMS again. FAIQ, being so much stressed out about step 2 CK score, how can I really deal with this feeling and calm down? I've talked about stress management, that you don't have a choice, and so you have to handle it. Okay. It's a psychologic screening / filtering mechanism, these board exams, as much as they are assessments of your knowledge base. Okay. So if you're performing surgery and there's a stressor that occurs, are you going to be able to finish the job, or are you going to have a compromised patient outcome? Like, can you handle the stress? Right. So you got to be able to handle stressful situations. That's what it comes down to. So if you get into the real step 2 and you're starting to like freak out and you can't handle the stress of the moment, well, that kind of is a filtering mechanism, filtering you out, because you shouldn't be a doctor if you're so prone to perturbances like that. Okay. So you have to be able to just handle it. Yes, that is part of it. Lovely Libra, good to see you again. How can I get faster at reading the explanations? It takes me forever to do questions, like 8 hours. I've said that the way to approach explanations for Qbank is you're going to treat them like Wikipedia. So what that means is, if you're reading Wikipedia, what are you going to do? Are you going to annotate? Are you going to take notes? Are you going to make Anki? The answer is no. So you're going to just breeze through, try to glean the main idea from the explanations, and you're not going to obsess over them. You get some people who are trying to memorize UWorld explanations. They're like going through PDFs of all the charts from UWorld. It's a waste of time. Most of Qbank is superfluous. So I don't want you obsessing over the Qbank explanations. The value of Qbank is seeing presentations, seeing how things are assessed. You're not going to skip explanations, but 40 questions should take you about 4 hours. So an hour per 10 questions, 6 minutes per question. So it takes you a minute to read the question. Then you got a minute per answer choice when you review. That's your general pace. Alley Times, hello Mike, I have passed my step 1, thank God. Then your PDF now. I have You have the Saudi Arabian medical exam. Okay, good. Khalil, how many NBMEs should I do to know that I'm ready for the real deal? Bare minimum, I want to see 3 NBMEs at 68% plus for step 1. And for step 2, I want to see bare minimum 3 NBMEs at 220 plus. That's ideal. Bare minimum. You should be doing all the NBMEs, 20 to 31. Okay, people who say they don't have time, it's like nonsense. Okay, so that's what I want to see. USEF, for step 1, I did UWorld and some of your PDFs. Did NBME 20, didn't pass, so I want. And you went and did your incorrects. You took NBME 19 and not spoil 21 to 31. I still didn't pass. What do? If you're not passing the NBMEs, you have to go back to Qbank. Okay, and you got to build your foundation through Qbank. Still, I know you're not happy. You said, oh, I did UWorld and some of your PDFs and I didn't pass 20. Well, guess what? You got to do UWorld incorrects now. Or you got to do AMBOSS now. You know, like some people just aren't as good test takers. I'm not saying that applies to you. I'm just saying like you got to, some people have to do more Qbank, a lot of Qbank. That's what it's going to come down to. Waleed, how to prepare for step 2 comp. Mine is coming up in a week. Same way you prepare for step 2. If it's coming up in a week, I mean, I would do NBME 6 through 14. And you got to be passing those. That's what it is. And free 120. But I would do like 6 through 8 offline. That's what for starters, I would do those. You could do 9 and 10 online. You could save prior to your real 2CK. You could save like 12 through 14. But you should be doing those NBMEs and recognizing that your scores on those NBMEs are the same as the 2CK and comp. So if you get like a 212, which is not a pass on an NBME, you're not going to pass comp. And your comp, some schools annoyingly have very, very high step 2 comp passes for step 2, like 230, which I know is not high in the grand scheme of things because the average is super high now. But I'm saying that like compared to a 214 pass, and you get a lot of people who are just praying to pass, their school will literally be like, nah, you got to get like a 230 to like pass comp. Okay, I've seen those situations before. SoulCal 24, Mike, if we're scoring for like the 40s and 50s on the NBMEs, is there any value in doing the NBMEs 1 through 19 instead of burning 20 through 31? The answer is go back to Qbank, as I said. Okay, so you can do 1 through 19, but what you need is explanations, and you're going to breeze through them. Okay, so just do a lot of Qbank questions, 40 to 80 per day, and breeze through the explanations, but you got to be doing Qbank. You don't need to do 1 through 19. Like you just need more Qbank if you're failing the NBMEs 20 through 31. Anna Pang, what should I do now while waiting for step 1 schedule after past CBSE with a 78 and finished all your PDFs, UWorld and Forms 2031? I'm so afraid of forgetting. I'd want to know when your actual step 1 is. If you pass CBSE with a 78, super high, so you're not in danger of failing in any capacity, but you just would stay fresh on all the NBME content. Like, let's say your exam is in like, your step 1's in like 3 weeks or something. I'd be like, okay, like make sure you do my high yield endocrine, my high yield pathology, my high yield arrows PDFs. Those are the 3 pass level ones. Make sure you know those well. And you're just going to redo 20 to 31. And if you get ANSI, we could also throw in some other exams. We could have you do like NBME 19, NBME 18 for kicks. We could have you do the UWorld self-assessments. Some people get emotional because I've talked about how you don't need to do the UWorld self-assessments, the UWSAs. You don't have to do those, okay? But I'm just saying, if a student's already done 20 to 31 and we want more things to do, 19, 18, do a UWorld self-assessment or 2, okay? But if you're just going to do 20 through 31 for the first time and your scores are sufficient, you don't have to do 19 and earlier, and you don't have to do the UWorld self-assessments. Joaquin, I just lost where I was. Gustav, thanks for the donation. The chat moves on me. Okay, I'm only going to do 30 minutes. I'm only going to do 5 more minutes. Last year I did like 4-hour. I would do like 4-hour live streams in like the middle of the night my time. But I got shit to do. Joakim, do you have any tips for Comlex level 2 as opposed to step 2? Any differences in preparation? Is one easier than the other? They're the same exact exam. Okay. So you're just going to prep for them the same. I've talked about that a lot today. Dreamer, how do I get started with clinical research? I don't really, that's not my, like, I stay in my lane. Okay. Clinical research. I mean, you're going to find those connections as you need to. What are you interested in? Reach out to those people, right? Alley Times. Okay. Jose Roberto Robles. What are chances of entering a fellowship being an IMG with an international internal medicine diploma? You just need a 2CK, bro. You need 2CK. With all of the like diversity, equity, inclusion stuff going on in the US, all that political stuff, if you're an IMG, I could actually like contend you'd be at an advantage compared to like Americans. I'm being serious right now. It used to be this like stigma that like, you know, when I sat the exams in 2012, 2014, it used to be this stigma of like, OMG, if you're an IMG, you're at a disadvantage. Honestly, if you're applying and you're fucking like Mexican or something, like you'd be at an advantage over like, they don't need white, they don't want like white American dudes like me. They want people of diversity. That's the politics in the US right now. So I think it would like help you. Just make sure you have a good 2CK score. Noor Jahan, could you help me to get through the exam? That's what I'm doing right now. Igor, I'm in Mississippi. Come and visit me. We will have great dinner. The Jackson is actually a pretty criminal place. I live in suburban. Yeah, I mean, I would still be keen to go to Mississippi though, as I said. That'd be fucking awesome. Mississippi. That'd be fucking great. You know, when I was living in the US, I'm from New York and I went to school in Boston and like these like very like blue places, big cities and stuff. I said I was in Alabama last year. I'd go to fucking Mississippi. It'd be fucking awesome. It'd be fucking great. Munib, how long before my test should I be done with the NBMEs? Pretty much leading up to your exam. I'll have people like, I'll create schedules for people where I have them do like their final NBMEs literally like days before. I'd say the very, very latest is you're sitting in NBME 31 would be like 4 days out. So you do like NBME 31, 4 days out, all 4 blocks. You start the review that day. I give you the second day to finish the review, like 3 days out. 2 days out could be like biostats review. You finish, you just like, we're just doing objective box checking. You say, well, I hate biostats, but yeah, we're giving you a formality here of like study biostats for like all your formulae, like 2-hour review. And then you say, oh, I'm good. I don't need to study biostats anymore. Okay. Then it turns into custom review the rest of the day. You say, you know what? I want to review farm or something. Great. Doesn't matter. The day before your exam, I want to be very chill. I don't want that to be a busy day. Literally like go out, watch a movie, like do stuff the day before your step 1 and step 2. I'm only going to do a half an hour. So just 2 more minutes. I'm just going to start to cherry pick some questions here. You guys are still talking about upper versus low GI bleeding for some Qbank. Yeah, I knew it was a Qbank thing. NBME wouldn't assess garbage like that. Does anyone know if NBME someone donated? Let's see. Okay. Emery, thanks for your donation. I'll read your question. Dr. Mike, I hope you're well. Should we focus on memorizing the incorrect answers from NBME 6 through 13, but you mean 6 through 14, and CMS for step 2CK, or should we memorize all the forms in NBMEs? You're going to memorize, when we say memorize, we mean like study really, really, really hard. Like assiduously put in a lot of effort to like review that content. Like Qbank, don't worry about the explanations, as I said, like kind of skim them, make sure you understand the main point. Like treat Qbank explanations like you're reading Wikipedia. Just kind of breeze through, don't take notes, don't make Anki. But when we talk about the CMS forms, which are the NBME subject-specific forms for step 2 and the actual NBME 6 through 14 free 120, then I want you to really like understand those questions. Because students will be like, are you sure like this is going to show up on the USMLE? It's like, well, it's the real fucking, like the NBMEs are the real exam. So it's not a debate. It's not my opinion. Like if it shows up on an NBME, it means it's on the real USMLE. Students are getting those questions. So Yeah, I want you to focus any NBME form 6014 or CMS form you do. All those questions are on the real USMLE. Okay? They repeat. Shabnam, that's a big donation. Thank you. I think I remember you actually. We chatted actually. We've DM'd. I know. You talked about making like I think the white, what was it? The whitelist donation. You talked about that. You asked me about that. But I do I can, and that's rare, very rare that I can put a face to a DM. That's very rare. Guys, I did a half an hour. I'll read one more question, okay? Because we could do this 4 hours. As I said, I did like 4 hour live streams last year, and we're talking about like going to space and fucking like Elon Musk and like, all these other topics outside USMLE, right? So I'll read one more question here. I'm going to read Tina's question. Tina Nahongo. 1 month from CBSE, been doing high yield PDFs and Qbank, planning to do NBMEs 25 to 31 days before to build stamina. What should be your advice? I've said that the month leading up to your CBSE comp, you're going to treat like the step one. So yes, I want you to do NBME exams 20 to 31. However, the caveat, as I'll reiterate, is that if you're not passing NBMEs, okay, you do 20 and 21 offline and you get 63%, if you get under 63%, I don't want you moving to the next NB. I don't want you moving to 22 onward. If you do get, let's say, low 60s and we have you do 22 and you don't get a 65 plus, which is a pass, then I don't want you burning through the NBMEs. The worst thing is like you've burned through 20 through 31 prior to your comp and you're getting like 49% on 55%, all of them. It's like, okay, you failed all the NBMEs and you burned through all of them and you should have been doing Qbank. The purpose of Qbank is to prepare you to pass the NBMEs. Qbank will get you to pass level. And then we want 60s on the NBMEs, okay? Like if you're getting below 63% NBMEs, then like you need to do more Qbank. You need to be back in Qbank. All right, guys.